Rita Meyer, Republican candidate for governor. I don't know who posed that question, but you must have a death wish for some of us, for those of us on the campaign trail. That's like taking somebody's gun away, for gosh sakes. Obviously, and I think Chris said it very well. We really do, as individuals, don't share a heavy, do not shoulder a heavy burden in terms of taxes here in Wyoming. The mineral industry does it for us. Recently, of course, a couple of years ago when the food sales tax was removed, I saw everybody trying to take credit for that. I know it started with the Democrat, Ann Robinson up in Casper, and I saw an awful lot of folks line up trying to take credit for it. Well, now as the revenue stream has backed away slightly, quite a bit, that was a pretty good funding stream directly to municipalities. And I'll tell you what, they really are suffering from a lack of that revenue stream. So I think you have to be pretty careful. Somebody said, well, we'll get that tax back. And I said, when hell freezes over, that tax will be back in Wyoming. Of course, I also said Al Gore would never get a divorce, and I was wrong on that account. So, there you go.
Simple answer to, excuse me, Pete Gose, our candidate for governor. Simple answer to this question, no. Because we all are ignoring, everybody on this table, with the exception of one group, is ignoring the severance issue. We have people being removed from city government in Laramie because we don't have the funding. And we all talk about transportation and infrastructure and all those wonderful things, but good intentions don't fill potholes. And severance is the way to go. And you have to understand that you can do it better. And it's done better. And it's been done better in Alaska. And you tie it to the value of the minerals. As the minerals go up, the company profits go up. But so should the state. Remember, those are our minerals. They work for us. And I think sometimes that's lost in the process. And so we have to have these mechanizations and these talks about progressive severance, or excuse me, progressive income or regressive sales, when really we don't have to. When really all we need is somebody to say, hey, severance, it's been done, it should be done better, and it's been done in Alaska. And it was passed by a Republican legislature and signed by Sarah Palin. Now for those of us, for me, I don't find Sarah to be too progressive. But with regard to severance, she is very progressive in this regard. And I don't have an idea, I just really can't understand. You hear, oh, it'll drive the businesses away. That was done, a study was done at the university, 2% either way, higher or lower. It didn't have any effect on business. So that argument's moot, and it's time for a progressive, fair severance.
Thank you. Thank you, Matt Mead, Republican candidate for governor. I like that headline. Pete Gosar says Sarah Palin's progressive. Just take it out of context. My answer is no as well. In part, that is because we, just the mechanism to collect income tax within the state would be an added cost. The mechanism to collect sales tax is already in place. But, like has been mentioned earlier, to me the true measure of how well Wyoming is doing isn't necessarily how much money we have in reserve accounts, because that's not where we live. The true measure of how well Wyoming is doing is where we live and work and play, and that's in our towns and our counties. And I have said often that it is appropriate for Wyoming to put money away into reserve accounts, but the discretionary money we put away in there, we do so with the belief that it's making 8–10% interest guaranteed, when in fact we've had some huge realized losses in some of those accounts. And I think that this is a very good time to look at taking some of that money, getting it back to our towns and our counties, and working on infrastructure projects, because the cost of labor and the cost of materials is cheaper now than it was even 2 years ago. It'll help keep contractors in business. It'll help keep our community sustained and get us out of the recession more quickly. So that to me is the concern on taxes and where our money goes. We need to make sure our towns and our counties are doing well.
If you're going to turn that one off, I'll use this one.
Leslie Peterson, Democratic candidate for governor.
if I recall, we'd have to have a constitutional amendment for one thing to institute a income tax in the state, and that's not very likely either. And of course, no one is going to stand up here and suggest that we should do that. I was very, very supportive of taking sales tax off the food because that is extremely regressive, and I'm so glad that we did that. Many of the cities and counties felt that they that money should be restored to them, and they were never really told that it would be. But they didn't notice it for a few years because we were in a very strong economic time, and fortunately we were able to pump so much money into our towns and counties. I have to applaud Governor Freudenthal for his idea, supported by the legislature, of business-friendly communities, because we put huge amounts of money into all of our municipalities, whether they were Gillette or Pinedale or elsewhere, not only in the business-ready aspect, but also into the infrastructure in our communities. And the Wyoming Business Council has had a great deal to do with that, and it was a very wise move. We also did direct distributions to counties and towns, and I hope that we're beginning to see an uptick in the economy now in Wyoming, and we're seeing all kinds of new economic development taking place of all different kinds, everything from teaching Koreans to speak English over the internet. Sorry, I ran out of time.
Tom Euban, Republican for governor. I say no to any income tax. That's one of the reasons I live here in Wyoming, I think. Plus, you know, government's got to learn to live within their means. When the revenues go down, government's going to have to just cut back. That's all there is to it. I mean, that's what I have to do in my life. And as sooner the government learns this lesson, I just, you know, I think everybody will be better off. But I can remember when they had the committee going around Wyoming talking about the income tax. And I had a few arguments with some of the legislatures about it. And they were saying, oh, we have all these millionaires living up in Jackson. I said, yeah, they're millionaires because they know how to take care of the money. And we're not going to be able to tax them. I said, plus, you start any kind of a collection of that, and your agency and the government is going to cost you more than what you're going to get. So I think that you know, income tax in Wyoming will never happen. I wouldn't worry about it. And for one thing, I would always say no to any new taxes. We just have to learn to live